I'm not entirely sure how to structure this video, where to begin, what the point really is. I want to talk about the fact that I don't think we ask people what they're capable of as individuals often enough. Quite often, things are just expected of us because of norms, and that feeling that everyone should be able to do this or that can mean that genuine concerns being voiced on our incapacities get ignored. I had a full blown panic attack over going to visit my partner's family one year for a holiday. Not because of anything related to interacting with his family, socializing, meeting strangers. It was because of the prospect of the drive there. The last time we'd taken the drive, it had been an awful experience. It had been lightly raining, there was very little visibility, and drivers on the QEW were being reckless, in general, always, but especially considering the road conditions. Among many other near misses, the biggest one was a coach bus trying to merge into us. By the time we got where we were going, I was rattled. I didn't have a fun time. Nothing about the trip was for me. It was an obligation to attend that I was fulfilling for someone else who just didn't want to go alone. And not only did I not want to subject myself to that stressful environment again outright, but the payoff had never been worth it. I, personally, got nothing out of these trips. I'm not visiting people I have a personal connection to. It's taxing for me through and through, from travel to socializing. And of course, I'm not just some jerk who is unwilling to do anything for my partner who would like me to attend. But the whole experience, inarguably, like subjectively, causes me way more undue stress than I think I should have to make. That sacrifice. The damage done to my mental wellness compared to the benefit of me being there was not equaling out. I guess you could say it's not a give and take situation, it's just me giving. So the next time that the need for me to attend a family function there came up, I tried to advocate for myself in not having to go. He had other family members to go with, and I don't contribute anything to the gathering. I basically just sit there and listen the whole time, so why did I really need to put myself through another trip like that? In typical unhealthy fashion, I overdrank the night before because I was worried and I knew I wasn't being heard. Part of me wanted to make myself sick, so I had a genuine reason not to go. It'd be a self inflicted excuse, but you can't stick someone throwing up on a 6 hour car ride. The morning of, my partner still expected me to go, and I have a very hard time disappointing people if they don't let me. I tried describing how anxious I was, how the last trip made me scared for my life. I had a panic attack and started crying. I was quite literally hysterical. But because he sat there and listened, and although he wasn't forcing me, even after seeing all that, because he said he'd be disappointed if I didn't go, I caved. I was still a little drunk and self loathing for myself for not being able to or wanting to do this thing that it seems like I should be able to because he seems to think that I can or should. And I'd used alcohol as a numbing agent to get through things I didn't want to in life so many times before that I dissociated and I got into the car and I went on the fucking trip. And looking back on it, yeah, I sound like a petulant kid, acting out because I didn't want to do something. And I kind of was with the over drinking, but the panic attack was genuine and it was going to happen either way. I was ultimately trying to avoid confronting how panicked the situation made me by acting out, over drinking so that I wouldn't have to go. And it makes me better at communicating and advocating for myself. But that's another whole can of worms we'll get into eventually someday. When it comes down to it, disappointing people, for me, isn't a choice that I get to make. I still had to do it, no matter how much I felt about it. I had to try if I was still physically able. My only bet in avoiding this obligation that I don't feel is worth it to my mental well being rested in my plight being seen as valid. It's still a little hard to believe upon seeing my level of distress that my partner still expected me to go. I wouldn't have let someone in my situation put themselves through that. Even if it was all just some pouty show, I don't see how that could be worth it. To be the person that is doing that to them, that is asking that of them. But the real point is that I don't think my concerns were being heard because the task itself was categorically not a big deal. All I have to do is sit in a car. All I have to do is sit in a room of people. All I have to do is take a couple days out of my schedule to be a good, supportive partner. Those things aren't hard to do for other people, so they shouldn't be hard to do for me. But what if it is? What about when I say it is? When I'm telling you it's too much? Why doesn't that count for anything? I get that a lot with driving itself. Everyone else does it, so why can't I just learn to drive? Well, why do I have to, just because everyone else does? Why do I have to be okay with things to the same level everyone else is? I have my reasons. Why isn't that good enough? Why isn't that respected? There are so many things in life where I do things because other people expect me to that objectively don't benefit me enough to warrant. And I wouldn't do if it was something that I could choose to not do for myself. If people truly understood the negative cost to the very little amount of positive benefit, you'd think they wouldn't demand my attendance to a family gathering which I contribute nothing to and do not personally enjoy. But to attain that level of consideration, my concerns, my visceral, subjective experience, first needs to be seen as valid. But it wasn't. So I'm not. This is all pretty abstract, so I'm going to end on an example that you can see. On the talk show Maury, a girl named Mariah was brought on who has a debilitating phobia of pickles. So what do? They took her to a fucking pickle factory, where she was distressed and broke down. And Maury, afterwards, gives her the lines that a lot of kids don't like pickles, but they don't act like this. He commands her to stop shaking when she's so scared by just talking about it. Then they bring some on stage so she can confront them. But she has a panic attack and flees, hyperventilating at the end where the audience and Maury laughs. Not only was this whole display on national television exploitative of someone's mental illness, but it only happened because nobody else considers being afraid of pickles a valid problem. But it was to Mariah. It was very real to her, and I don't understand why that doesn't count for anything. It doesn't matter how absurd it is. If something is beyond someone else's capacity, and it's not in direct conflict with coexisting in the rest of society, why is it on Mariah to have to change? Why is it on me to suck it up and participate in things that do nothing but distress me, just because it's expected that I should be able to? Will it ever be accepted when someone says I can't, if it's against the norm? There are so many things that I actually just fucking can't do, and being a disappointment because of that doesn't change them. It just makes me feel even worse for them, and that doesn't help anybody. I think people's need to push back against people expressing an incapacity in themselves is rooted in some kind of practices of child rearing. Like the idea that if you let a child decide that they don't like a food, they'll be a picky eater, or if you don't push them into a sport, they'll never know how much they really like it. It's seen as some kind of tough love. It's doing the outliers a favor, forcing them to be more like the norm so they will become the norm. But there are a lot of things that don't work like that, and it's usually the most vulnerable, already disadvantaged people seeking consideration, getting pushback, forced to do something that's already hard enough for them. I guess what I'm urging here is acknowledgement that when someone expresses a lack of capacity, that we don't instinctively feel compelled to get that out of them anyway. Having a lack of capacity is punishment enough. There are consequences built in. Obviously, some people aren't going to get it, but not being able to do something is the consequence. You don't need to tack on more out of some misguided attempt to fix us. We'll fix ourselves when and if we can. We don't want to be this way. All people just can't do all things. So try to be understanding rather than oppositional. I have limits, but that doesn't mean that I'm not trying. And when something is too much, I wish that was allowed.